And we're here with more Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. It's going to be a lot more low energy tonight. I have not been feeling well all day. We have one more segment in... well, there's a couple more things to do in Forest of the Fallen Giants. A couple more sections to clear out. So we're going to go ahead and do that tonight. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be streaming for. I'm going to start going and see how I feel. If I think I want to do longer, I might end up doing longer tonight. If I only feel up to doing an hour, I'll only do an hour tonight. It really, like I said, it all depends on how I feel. Maybe depends on how long it takes to like finish clearing out Forest of the Fallen Giant and stuff like that. We're gonna go ahead and head down here. Where am I going? Where am I going, man? First, we're gonna take out that guy so he doesn't ambush us. Parries for days! Bet that hurt your heart and soul, friend. We got a section over here that we're gonna take care of. This is a, actually a pretty cool tidbit. Pretty cool small section of the game. Actually, can we get this summon? Oh no, we have to be able to get this summon over here, huh? Well, maybe not actually, because both of the bosses in the area are defeated. Because there's a pretty cool NPC summon that I did want to show off over here. Gonna go ahead and light this sconce. Come down here. Now without the torch, this area is dark. Let me try and show you some. Whoa. So we can see the difference between how this is lit over here and how dark it is over there. Now, one of the things that people have a tendency to complain about with Dark Souls 2 is how slow the game is. And the more that I think about it, it's not necessarily a positive or negative, I think, that the game seems slower. Black fire bombs and homeward bones. We'll take a look at the black fire bombs in a second. It's not necessarily a good or bad thing that Dark Souls 2 is overall a slower game than Dark Souls 1 or Dark Souls 3. It's just different. Some people, I think some people probably prefer it. Some people dislike it. I think it's fine. I have a lot of fun with Dark Souls 2. It's weird because playing through Dark Souls 3 again recently has made me appreciate Dark Souls 2 a little bit more. And I haven't really been able to put my finger on why. So Ruined Aphlis. This is who I want to show off here. Hopefully he doesn't despawn before we get to the next section, because he's only a shade. But I'm sure, see, this is cool, because he actually casts light. So if you want to summon him, You can actually use him as your light for the area. He will follow you around with that spell cast, and he'll light the section up. And I think, really, it's little things like this that, like, wow, he has a lot of health. I didn't mean to backstab there, but it's just the little things like this ruined Athlas character that just, like, really makes Dark Souls 2 feel a lot better. There's just it's weird to say, but to a degree, I think part of the reason why I've come to enjoy Dark Souls 2 so much is because it feels like there's so much more depth to this game. Hey man, what are you doing? Two can play that game, although you are playing it much better than I am right now. Oh, there he goes. Okay. That'll do. So I didn't point it out, but we got a hint of this area earlier on. This area is a little tough. Whoa. Thank you, man. Oh, man. Even open the door. That's so cool. NPCs in Dark Souls 3 won't do stuff like that. Hey, look out, Alphys. Look out, man. I've never seen a Dark Souls 3 NPC do something along those lines. Oh! I don't know how I did not see that guy there. I was focused on looking over here. Because we can see Amber Herb, Green Blossom. We can see, I don't know if you guys will recognize it, but that small area is the lower kind of part of the fort that we went through. On the other side of this gate, there's that corpse where we picked up some Titanite shards. And up there, up on that side over there, is where you meet Kale the Cartographer. Up here is a chest. I'm not real worried about the chest so much yet. I want to light a bonfire. There's a bonfire back here. I spent a long time in Dark Souls 2 not really knowing that this area even existed, right? This is what makes this area so obnoxious. You got a bunch of these old ironclads over here on top of a Red Phantom NPC invader. That's why Alphys is so helpful. Whoa! Holy guacamole. Oh, yep. No, I missed the parry. Alright, well, we got the bonfire here, at least. Drink! Oh, didn't make it. Alright, it's fine. Yeah, this is why this area is particularly rough. Because you have all these ironclads on top of a red NPC invader. I think that's the first time we've died in this playthrough, though. So, that's pretty good if you ask me. Armor Dennis. Back at it again. He comes in from over here, I believe. Yeah, there he is. Man, just rips through my poise. Could you not? That was a bad decision. The NPC invaders, something that I have a lot of mixed feelings about in Dark Souls 2. Because they're not a terrible touch, but they make them so unrealistically powerful for where you are in the game. Like, it's almost as if they're trying to incentivize you to do them at a different point. Like, come back later and try them. He just eats. I have no poise. I can't poise through his attacks at all. I normally don't get wrecked this bad by this guy. But because I'm not feeling well and just really low energy, and trying to talk and commentate at the same time, it takes a lot of brain power to think about the things that you want to say and articulate them properly. What? Why did I do a guard break maneuver? Alright, let's try this again. I'm trying to parry him. Maybe I'll have to swap on to some heavier armor. Nope, wrong weapon. Crap. Oh, fuck you, Fire Longsword. You like... Because even with how fast the parries are... Because part of the reason I'm getting wrecked by this guy is because I'm really trying to get the parry timing down on him. But, like, by the time my parry starts, he's already swinging his sword from when the animation begins. I don't know if it's just my senses are dulled because I'm tired or what, but... I also want to unequip my Fire Longsword here. Maybe equip a little heavier armor. Might give me a little bit more poise. Alright. I got your number, Armorer Dennis. What? Okay, I was expecting to do a follow-up attack with that. See, you like have to preemptively begin to parry this guy. Oh god. Uncool. Interesting. Ow. Not gonna do anything over there against that wall, buddy. Got the guard break. Alright. We got him this time. Yeah, that sword swing is really fast. I must, like, my reaction time must be delayed. Because, like I said, I'm not feeling 100% myself. I'm sure you guys can tell. And I do apologize for that, but some days you feel great, other days not so much. Alright, it's time to pick up this chest here. Large soul of proud knight, hunter's hat, leather armor, leather gloves, leather boots, and An undead wants to play. Alright, let's take a look at this hunter set. And we still need to look at the black fire bombs. I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten. Just haven't had a chance to really stop and look at them yet. Armor made from soft leather, a commonplace piece of equipment. Few embellishments, lightweight, and easy to use. We'll go ahead and see if the hunter's hat has anything. A leather hat with a large brim, traditionally used by bow hunters. The hunting goddess, Evlana, was no goddess at all, but rather a brave and highly skilled bow huntress. Long after her demise, the passing of lore transformed her into a deity. Obviously there's nothing here to suggest this, but I wonder if Evlana is supposed to be a reference to... In Dark Souls 1, there's a section in the forest area before you fight Sif, where there's a female hunter character that uses a bow and arrow, and it's where you get the Ferris's hat. I wonder if Evlana is supposed to be that character, because we know it's not Ferris. I'm fairly certain we know it's not Ferris. And she was part of the Forest Hunters Covenant, which would make her a hunter. So in my mind, and this is entirely speculation, there's nothing at all, I think, that links Elvana and this character from Dark Souls 1. But I wonder if Elvana is supposed to be that character. Something to think about. It's a cool hat. It's definitely one of the cooler pieces of armor. I think the armor itself, this armor set kind of looks silly. I don't know what it is about it that I don't really care for it. I think it's because, like, the way the bottom of the shirt bellows out, and I don't really care for the leather wrappings on the top of the pants along the thighs. But we can play around with it for a little bit, show it off some. I should go ahead and use a human effigy. Oh, this little corner over here, it's kind of a pain in the ass. We still have to explore up top there. You're gonna want to go ahead and come around and do that. Oh, I do not expect that to hit me for some reason. Come on, it takes so long to stand back up. Oh man, all of them came. This is another, like, unnecessary part here. Why does there have to be 4 of them that come after you? I mean, individually, these guys are not that tough. We've taken down plenty of them, but when there's 4 of them after you, it gets a little scary. It's like, again, this is one of... There's still another one over there. This is something that I've talked about several times, where this is supposed to be the first area of the game. But for newer players, for people who are maybe picking up the game for the first time, maybe never played a whole lot of Dark Souls 1, I can understand how a lot of newer players might feel like this area in particular, and how Dark Souls 2 is an overall worse experience. And this goes back to what I talked about yesterday, and I may have talked about it the day before that too, but this idea of artificial difficulty, it's not artificial because the developers from software intended it to be like this. They specifically designed it so it worked this way. See, there's one ironclad that's over here, right? He's standing, he usually stands like right in this archway. And then there's 3 more ironclads on top of this building over here. We obviously won't see them, we just killed them. But where they come from, where they spawn, is up over here. I'm pointing at my screen, like you guys can see what I'm pointing at. They spawn on top of that building. And if you come out from this direction, from the bonfire, they all fall off that top of the building and come after you. So in this little corner, you have like 4 or 5 ironclads that could potentially all be coming after you at the same time. You don't have a lot of space to move around. And on top of that, you have a red spirit phantom invader, an NPC who will invade you every single time you respawn and come back to life. And for what this area, like, for the like, ridiculous escalation in the challenge for this area, there's not really anything that's worth necessarily coming over here. Unless you don't want to farm a bastard sword off of the undead hollow soldiers, and for whatever reason you really want a bastard sword. I don't know. I just don't like it. Using these sort of, see, this is where they normally are. You have 3 ironclads that hang out up here. But when you walk out over here, might be, honestly, they might trigger, now that I think about it, looking at their viewing angle, they might trigger when you walk out of, from the bonfire room. I wonder if that's the case. Either way, to have 3 ironclads up here, either you come up here and you're attacked by 3 ironclads, or you hit the bonfire, you walk out, and then the 3 ironclads drop down and train after you, and you're fighting 3 ironclads in very, very tight space. And I guess it comes down to the design philosophy. It seems to suggest that Dark Souls 2, it's really weird, because in Soul of a Nameless Soldier and 3 cracked red-eye orbs, in interviews before the game launched, I remember Dark Souls from Software and the development team talking about how they wanted to make Dark Souls 2 a little bit more approachable. One of the big things with Dark Souls 1 is a lot of people were turned off because they would hear about how difficult the game is, and they go, I don't know if that's for me necessarily. It's got a really high skill curve. I don't really have the time, or I don't have the attention to dedicate to learning how to play this, you know, high skill ceiling game. So they wanted to make it more approachable. See, we have the bastard sword up here. That's our second one. You can farm the undead hollows in the area for the bastard sword if you really want it. But and the whip. To kind of finish up my thought, though, they say that they want to make the game more approachable, and then they use ambush tactics like this, which, in my opinion, is not necessarily bad game design, but it's kind of bullshit to fall back on that kind of dirty trick throughout what is basically the first area of the game. It's totally optional. You don't need to come to Forest of the Fallen Giants, but it's supposed to be the first area that any character goes. You're told to go to the Forest of the Fallen Giants first. So, I don't know. In my mind, it just... I think some of the shortcomings of Dark Souls 2 revolve around trying to balance the game for experienced Souls players, which I don't know if that's the right thing to do, man. That's how I perceive it. I could be totally wrong. Trust me, I could be totally wrong and talking out my ass about this, but that's how I see it. That a lot of these encounters are designed to heavily punish new players who don't know how to deal with them or will panic and just die. While simultaneously attempting to be still challenging to veterans of the series. And I'm not sure that's correct. I think you might have to take one path or the other. Because it is super punishing for new players. And new players, I imagine new players who pick up Dark Souls 2 and start playing through it and it's their first Souls game ever, I imagine them struggling a lot more with Dark Souls 2 than they would with Dark Souls 1. Dark Souls 3, I kind of have a similar problem with Lothric Castle. Not Lothric Castle, the High Wall of Lothric. But we'll talk about that when we play Dark Souls 3 a little bit more. I don't think there's anything else here that I'm missing. Can you? Okay. I was a bit worried that I would fall down that hole. I just want to run through here again real quick and make sure that there's nothing I'm missing. I got everything up top. I don't think there's any visions of Duo. I don't think there's any other secret walls or anything that I'm misremembering. Or not remembering at all, I should say, really. Now, you can make the argument that this is a totally optional area, that you don't have to come here, that there's no significant loot, there's no key items or anything like that. All there is the bastard sword and this set of armor. But I guess you gotta make sacrifices if you want swag this cool. Look at this hat. This hat is fancy. And then we're gonna head back to Cardinal Tower, the main room in Cardinal Tower. And then there's one leg of the area that we need to clear out. Oh man, water is so good. Maybe I've been dehydrated. I'm feeling a little bit better. I've been drinking water. I took a long nap when I got home from work. I've been drinking water all afternoon, and I'm feeling better than I was, but I'm still not feeling 100%. But streaming is giving me energy, which it's nice. It's a nice feeling to like kind of be a little low, a little mellow. None of that, sir. And then to start streaming and find yourself surprisingly energetic and excited to be doing it. I'm not close to the caliber that I was at yesterday. I'm aware of that. I can feel it. I can definitely feel it. Did we get the shield over here? Yeah, I remember talking about it. Okay, we should talk about some of the stuff before I absolutely forget. We talked about the bastard sword. We can look at the whip. A leather whip, not normally used on the battlefield. Very effective against bare flesh, but not against enemies with armor or like protection. It's more of a PvP weapon than anything. Could you get through the game with the whip? Maybe. I haven't tried. I'm sure there are people who have done it, but I haven't tried. What else was there? I think there was just that and the black fire bombs. Bisque urn filled with black powder explodes, inflicting great fire damage. Utilizes a powerful explosive developed in the fallen kingdom of Forosa. Black fire bombs can cause harm to their owners when misused, and Forosa law defines stringent standard for their safe storage. Little insight on Forosa. There, we'll learn more about Forosa in the future. And I think that was really all about everything I've missed up to this point. Relax. Oh. Probably a good idea to come over here and take out this guy. Like I've said before, these ironclads by themselves are pushovers. But when you're in that other section and you're fighting them in a group, it can be definitely intimidating, definitely scary. Use soldier key. I was playing around with this yesterday. I was curious if maybe if I knocked on the door, these guys would come running over to the door and open it up from the other side. A bit early on that parry there. A bit early again. Go ahead and pop an Estus here. Alright, well, I'm not gonna mess around with it too much, just kill this guy. Parries are partly timing, partly being familiar with the enemy that you're attempting to parry. And admittedly, I haven't spent a whole lot of time parrying these enemy types in particular. What? Okay. We will appreciate that here in a second. Could you not? Over here we find a soul of a nameless soldier and some life gems. This is pretty trippy though. Look at him, he's still breathing. He's just sitting there, hanging out. If this was Dark Souls 3, I could sit and have a toast with you. That's funny. That's weird. It's a very odd bug. Very odd glitch. I've seen that a couple of times in the past. Where you parry the enemy and they die, but they don't actually like disappear or anything. They just stay in their like parried state. This is where you would normally come up and fight the pursuer. If you either don't engage him on that rooftop like we did before, or lose to him, you can attempt to fight the pursuer where we fought the pursuer yesterday. You can attempt to fight him there once, and only once. If you lose, or run away, if you run away, I'll start with this. If you run away, he will despawn, and he will not spawn in that location again. If you lose, he will despawn, and he will not spawn in that location again. You won't re-engage him until you come up to this area here. That's trippy. Seeing the birds over there is actually kind of interesting. So one method of using backgrounds in games is is called skyboxing, right? Where basically everything beyond a certain point, like if you kind of think of it as a dome, you have like the game textures as kind of like the composing the earth, and then around that area you have this kind of dome, this semicircle that goes over the area, and the development team puts art of like the world around you. So in this case, they're skyboxing like the sun way off in the horizon, and you can see some mountains way far in the back, and all these clouds and everything. They're skyboxing all of this, and it's interesting looking at the birds. And I'm wondering if, or maybe not. I'm wondering if there are actually like low quality like models that are moving over there, and they just they don't aggro. We can't target them. They're far away, but they're models and they're actually moving around, fluttering around. Or if it's kind of like a part of the skybox where they're running like a GIF. I don't know. Something interesting to think about. It looks like it's more likely that that those are actual models moving around over there, because they don't look like they're actually part of the skybox. It's cool. It's a nice little touch that I never really thought about before. One strategy for fighting the pursuer is coming up here, and you parry him, and then you fire the ballista, and like it almost instantly kills him on regular new game. It's kind of like a style points kill more than anything. For newer players especially, I would recommend just fighting him the old-fashioned way. Maybe I should talk. I didn't think about this until just now, but maybe I should do a little bit more focus on boss strategy as well. That's one thing we could be doing a little bit better, because I'm not really talking about strategies to fight the bosses. I'm just kind of showing you the bosses in general. So here we pick up the Drangleic set. It's actually a pretty good set overall. This will get you through the game pretty handily. Great Sword of Drummond, Royal Army Captain. An old and unadored sword, perhaps, but the pride and joy of this venerable captain. I kept on reading that as vulnerable. I'm like, I know the word is not vulnerable. It's venerable. Great Sword of Drummond, Royal Army Captain. An old, unadored sword, perhaps, but the pride and joy of this venerable captain. An heirloom passed from grandfather to father, and then from father to son. Drummond and those before him used the sword to repel those who would threaten their great land. Can we two-hand this? I want to see if we can two-hand this. Well. We don't even have the stats to two-hand it. The move set is kind of weird for a great sword. I will say that much. But it's definitely a pretty good weapon, and a pretty good armor set here too. Traditional Drangleic armor belonged to Captain Drummond. Drummond's ancestors have served Drangleic for generations, principally as defenders of the great fort, but Captain Drummond is the last in this proud line. Kind of tragic. We'll learn more about Captain Drummond in the not-so-distant future. It looks cool as well. It's a very heavy armor set. We don't have the helmet yet. We get that later on. And we also get the shield. Captain Drummond's shield, even with its embossing terribly worn, This shield exudes pride and authority, an heirloom passed from grandfather to father and then from father to son. Drummond and those before him held this shield when facing those who would threaten their great land. It puts us at 111 carry weight. But it is a super cool set. It's an expensive set to use though, because every single piece of this is upgraded through Twinkling Titanite. Which in Dark Souls 2, I don't think there's a point where you can buy a unlimited amount of Twinkling Titanite at all. I'm like, why am I so heavy? And it's like, oh right, because I still have the weapon and shield equipped. I don't remember being that fat. We'll rock this setup for the time being. We need to go back up. This is it for the Forest of Fallen Giants. That's the last thing to do in the Forest of the Fallen Giants for now. We will be coming back here later. There is more to the area. There's still the bottom half of the Cardinal Tower. Well, not really the bottom half, but there's the bottom chamber in the Cardinal Tower where all the salamanders are hanging out. But we won't be able to access that for some time. So we don't have to worry. We can get down there early if we're feeling brave, but we're trying to do as much as we can the sort of standard way. Not really looking to use any like sequence breaks or anything like that. Here we can examine this nest. Go ahead and see what this is about. It's a burb. Kind of throwback to Dark Souls 1, yeah? With the crow swooping down and picking us up. Brings us to the Lost Bastille. I wonder why it drops you facing those two chests. I wonder if it's specifically because they want you to know that the chests are there. It's been so long since I played the original Dark Souls 1. I don't remember if they did the same thing in the original Dark Souls 1. Not Dark Souls 1. The original Dark Souls 2. We get 2 human effigies, and we get a pretty important item. The Dull Ember. This didn't used to be the Dull Ember in vanilla Dark Souls 2. I remember that much. I don't remember what it was. It may have been a dragon bone. I can't remember. It's been so long since I played the original Dark Souls 2. Scholar of the First Sin came out like 2 years ago now. It came out like almost the same exact day as Bloodborne, actually. And I haven't touched the original Dark Souls 2 since Scholar of the First Sin came out. Alright, let's take a look-see. What did I even just pick up? The Dull Ember. An ember radiating a dull light. This flame seems nearly exhausted, but exhibits an eerie resilience. Perhaps this is its ordinary state. Interesting. In Dark Souls 1, embers were super important. In Dark Souls 3, embers are super important. In Dark Souls 1, they helped enhance your weapons. In Dark Souls 3, they help enhance your weapons in the sense that they determine when you unlock different infusions for your weapon, elemental infusions. In Dark Souls 2, it's a little disappointing because this is the only ember in the entire game. I think we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna head back to Majula real quick before we start exploring this area. In fact, we might ignore that for now altogether. There's another area kind of in between the Lost Bastille and well, I should say that you can do the Lost Bastille from that area. You can get through the entire area, but there's another area where we want to go to first. I think we'll be doing that today. We'll be getting into there.
Bearer of the curse.
We'll go ahead and level up some. I have 4 points. I do want to bring my adaptability up, but I don't like leaving it on odd numbers. I could do like 18 and then 1 into vitality. I either like multiples of 2 or multiples of 5 when I'm leveling up. I don't know what it is. Like eventually this 7 intelligence, when I have a spare point that I don't like really need to put into anything, I'll bump my intelligence up to 10 most likely for 2 reasons. One, having it sitting on 7 is driving my OCD crazy. And 2, well, it's not really OCD, it's more of like a what's the word I'm looking for? Neuroticism. It's like, it makes me neurotic. But the second main reason why we eventually want to get our intelligence up to 10 is because we want to. There are 2 NPCs that we can't talk to unless our stats are at a certain point. Carillion of the Fold, I believe we need intelligence of 10, and then for Falcon the Banished is another NPC that we will want to talk to. I believe we need intelligence and faith up to 10. And Falcon the Banished will actually sell us another weapon that I do have interest in using. It's a Twinkling Titanite weapon. We'll see if we end up using it or not. It's a pretty good weapon. Some of you may already know what it is. But maybe I'll go ahead and push my intelligence up now. Or should I bring my vitality up to 8? Well, we have time to bring my intelligence up. I'm not that worried about that. Do we have Estus Flask shards? We do not. Alright. So our carry weight went from like 69% exactly to 60.8%, even in this heavier armor, so that's pretty nice. We're gonna go ahead and bring our rapier up to +4. Eventually, I do want to start upgrading my the fire longsword and the short bow.
I'll be around.
Eventually, we'll go ahead and do that. Alright, let's go ahead and head to the next zone that we're going to be clearing out. Honestly, it's a bit of a smaller zone compared to a lot of the zones in the game. This is a much, much smaller section. but it's a pretty cool area. There's going to be a few things to talk about. And I admit I have been looking forward to this area. I have some mixed feelings about it. Because some of the changes that they made in Scholar of the First Sin, I don't know how much I like. But it's not, I guess it's not enough to like really diminish my overall enjoyment of the zone. I do think it's a very cool zone. Some people might agree, some people might disagree, that's fine. I'm not necessarily here to have all the same opinions, but this over here, I just want to show you. This gate opens and closes, obviously. This up here, all this is another lever to get that gate open from this direction. It really gave you a decent amount of time for this gate to open and close. Solo Velost Undead and a Broken Thief Sword. Go ahead and take a look at this real quick. A Broken Straight Sword, handled as a dagger due to its length. This inexpensive sword is terribly worn, but nevertheless is favored amongst thieves. It's, not really that great a weapon. It is kind of cool. Look at this real quick. As you can see, it's like literally a long sword that has been broken about halfway. And basically, it's a dagger with a little bit more reach. Very similar moveset to the dagger. It's kind of like the dagger meets the Broken Straight Sword. About the same length. About the same usefulness. Actually, all things considered, the unupgraded Broken Straight Sword is doing 117 damage. The broken... where is that now? The Broken Thief Sword is at 97 damage, so it actually does less damage than the Broken Straight Sword. That's funny. And then you have the dagger. The dagger is at 117 damage. We don't really need anything equipped in this weapon slot right now. And then, did we get... I think we picked up the... I do this so automatically, I forget we even picked this up, I'm sorry. The Crimson Parma, we got this out of a chest a couple minutes earlier. Standard wooden Parma. The fancy name and nifty paint are surely a merchant's efforts to make this very ordinary shield more attractive. It's just pretty standard wooden shield. Nothing too fancy there. For a lower dexterity character, though, it is a small shield, so it does have a little bit better parry frames. We come out and we're in Heide's Tower of Flame. Hides, something like that. Your friend Jason has just started watching. What is up, Jadison? How are we doing tonight? This area is just really cool. I think that's supposed to be the Lost Bastille over there. But this is this was some sort of like elaborate city, or at least like almost like a Vatican City type of deal. Obviously has some religious value. Shut up, man. I'm not here. I don't know what you're talking about. You're here. You're right here with me, Jadison. Through thick and thin, man. This area does have some religious connotations. We'll kind of talk about that when we get to it. I love the way this area looks, man. I love the colors, the kind of pastel color selection that they have here. And I have a fascination with like sunken cities, ruins underwater. Like my favorite story of all time is Atlantis. I think the concept of Atlantis is really neat. So just the fact that it's sinking into the water is a huge appeal to me. I've been appreciating the atmosphere long enough. Let's go ahead and make some progress. These guys, they're pretty bulky, but they're a lot like the old ironclads in the sense that once you realize you can basically strafe in circles around them, they're not really intimidating at all. This is the first real area where if you're going to farm souls, I would say join the Covenant of Champions and do it here. Because you got a lot of enemies that are just really easy to deal with that drop a lot of souls. So even in the Covenant of Champions, it's not that hard to take them on. And then we have Heide Knights. As you can see, we can lock onto these guys, right? But they're currently totally non-hostile. We can go ahead and rub our dick up in their face. Get a little sucky $5 here. But they don't care about us. They don't care that we're here. In fact, I'll even show you how little they care. If we attack them, they will aggro. The one that we attack specifically will aggro. And I'm going to show that off here. Whoa, not the attack I was expecting. That's what we were looking for. There's the money. But you can kill this guy, right? He didn't drop anything. You can kill this guy. And this fellow up here, up top, totally unfazed. He doesn't care. I do like killing these guys. They're a great source of souls. On top of being pretty easy to parry to death, as you can see. And also, they drop some pretty decent equipment. The Heide Knight set is probably one of my favorite in the game. But that's like really low drop rate stuff. We'll worry a little bit more about that later. Whoa! Easy, Tiger. We're all friends here. We're all friends here. Old Knight gauntlets. That's actually, the old Knight stuff is a pretty rare drop as well. Old, undated gauntlets. How old could these nearly crumbling gauntlets be? Extremely low durability. Sometimes just as the thing falls to pieces, it unleashes its last flash of great power. So, we can look at the stats for these items and see that, like, for being so old and crumbling, these things actually do have pretty decent physically defensive stats. They're not really worth it though. They weigh a lot more than the Drangleic stuff. But it's kind of cool that the lore on the gauntlets does coincide with the concept that though there's not much to them, they're not as terrible as they seem. Although they are pretty terrible as they seem. Alright. Gonna keep moseying along here. We want to kill this guy. When you kill this old knight in particular, this switch will rise up from the floor. Now a lot of people, oh wow, the old knight leggings too. We're getting all the old knight set apparently. A lot of people might pull this switch and be like, what did that even do? I will tell you what it does. You pull this switch, and if we look, the floor beyond, right there, rises up, extending that circular platform over there. Lore playthrough, yep. We're focused on collecting the lore, learning what we can about the game, helping others learn more about Dark Souls 2. I think the lore for Dark Souls 2 in particular is really, really underrated. So that's primarily why I'm doing this. Whoa! An extended storage device was not... How was that possible? I must have hit it by mistake. Alright, hang on. Technical difficulties. We'll get back into it in a second here. Yeah, I think there's a lot of focus on Dark Souls 1 and a lot of focus on Dark Souls 3, but like I don't really see a lot of like very in-depth lore-focused runs of Dark Souls 2, so that's really what I'm trying to do here. Give the USB storage a second to catch back up. There we go. You guys can see all the games that I currently have. But we'll get back into Dark Souls 2 here. There's always like a very, very small chance that something like that can crash and corrupt your file, and I hope that that's not the case. I always hope that's not the case. I've never seen it happen, but I know it's possible. I know other people that it's happened to, and they've lost like hundreds of hours in this game because of something stupid like that. Looks like our character's still here. Everything's all good. Alright. Alright, cool. Didn't really set us back at all. Speaking of which, we picked up a Lloyd's talisman before our game crashed. Let's have a look at that. Talisman used by the cleric knights blocks Estus recovery within a limited area. It is said that the cleric knights use these talismans to hunt down accursed undead. Cleric knights fight with pride, and by blocking the recovery of the undead, they can also fight with impunity. It's more of a PvP item. It does have PvE uses. It's kind of interesting. But, for the most part, we won't really be using a whole lot of them. But it does give us a little bit of insight into how the undead, the clerics, specifically the clerics, kind of operate. They obviously hunt undead. And using the talismans, they can do so with, like it says, they can do so with absolute impunity. They can get really, really aggressive. That was weird. It like buffered my roll, which worked out in the sense that I was able to get under that guy's second sword slash. So that's pretty nifty. 3. Sometimes they will do a 4th attack. That can catch you off guard if you're not prepared for it. If we listen, we can hear this this switch rising in the background. We're going to go ahead and hit that. And we can see that the 3rd section of that circular platform rises up. From here, the path in this area splits into 2 directions. We can go in this direction, head down to that chamber, or we can go over here. I think I'm going to go off in this direction first. Oh, right, I totally forgot about that. The Heide Knights in this direction, in this small section of the map, they are aggressive. They will, as you can see, they do stand up and come after you. I'm gonna run back here a little bit, see if these guys de-aggro. I think they will de-aggro eventually. We kind of just want to create space between him and the old Great Knight over here. Because the Heide Knights travel a little bit faster, so you can kind of use that to your advantage. Man, you guys have a huge aggro range, don't you? I guess it doesn't really matter too much, but I just never realized how ridiculous their aggro range was for these particular enemies. But it's alright, it all worked out. Yeah, just sometimes leading enemies away, just to get them spaced out from one another is a really good strategy for taking on multiple enemies. Those 2 guys can be pulled separately. Normally, I use a ranged attack to pull the Heide Knight, kill him first, and then I can fight the old Great Knight with very little trouble in this spot. Pick up another Divine Blessing. We saw that a couple days ago. Up there, we can see a sleeping dragon. There's a couple of ways to deal with this. Me, personally, I like cheese. So I'm going to show you a kind of cheesy way to deal with this dragon. It's a little bit more time consuming, but it's a lot safer. There we go. There's the good stuff. Get wrecked. And kill him with the backstab, just for good measure. Alright, so what you can do with this dragon here, if you have a bow and arrow and a lot of arrows, you can go ahead and shoot him with arrows. We're doing 40 damage per, partly because we're using a short bow, so our range isn't spectacular, and partly because we're using wooden arrows, but he will fly up and launch a fireball at you. That does have a little bit of tracking. So you want to shoot him a few times, right? And then when he flies up, you want to move from where you're standing. Dodge that fireball. Rinse and repeat. This is a, like I said, kind of cheese. It's definitely cheesy tactic. But for a lot of people, this might be significantly easier than running up and trying to outpace the dragon's fire breath across that bridge. although it's very time consuming. If you have a phantom with you, you can have one guy on the ground doing this to get his attention, and as he's flying up to launch a fireball, you can have your phantoms go up here, run along that bridge, and then get to him and fight him the old-fashioned way. But this is working for us for now. Like I said, it is slow, but it is methodical. And this is the main reason why I highly recommend using a bow and arrow for Dark Souls 2 in particular. Because you have a lot of these sections where if you use a bow and an arrow, you can really... It's not really cheesing it in the sense that, like, you're kind of tricking the game into doing something stupid. It's cheese in the sense that the AI just doesn't handle ranged attacks very well. A lot of enemies, you can kill them, and they'll just walk. They'll aggro to you when you hit them with an arrow, but they'll walk out of their aggro range and then walk back to their starting place. So you can take them out with a bow and arrow without actually having to fight them directly. So if you're a newer player and you're struggling a lot with some of these enemies, pick up a bow and arrow. Invest a little dexterity in a bow and arrow. Invest some souls in picking up some arrows and really use them to your advantage. Because you can end up killing a lot of enemies that would be otherwise pretty difficult to kill just by shooting them with bow and arrow. We can hear that another switch rises up over there. That one does something a little bit different. We'll get to that in 1 second here. Main reason why I killed this guy, killed this dragon, is for this. The Petrified Dragon Bone and Watch Dragon Parma. This switch drops the drawbridge up to the main cathedral here. We're gonna go ahead and look at the Watch Dragon Parma and the Dragon Bone, though. A shield decorated by intertwined dragons, the black and white contrast depicts the ebb and flow of the fate of all living and the serpentine dragons that watch over the march of time. The bearer of the shield will be blessed by great fortune in battle, which is actually true. There is no stat for it, so you can't see it. But if you equip this shield, you can see that we gain another buff. If you look under my stamina bar, when we swap to the Watch Dragon Parma, we gain another buff on our buff bar. The Watch Dragon Parma increases your item discovery rate a little bit. The reason why I want this is because at some point, probably off camera, probably going to go ahead and try and farm some of the Heide Knights for their set. And the Watch Dragon Parma is an excellent tool for that. Meanwhile, get an old Radiant Life Gem. I don't think I ever looked at the old... Yeah, I did look at the old Radiant Life Gems earlier in the playthrough. A stone made up of crystallized souls gradually restores HP. The dull glimmer of these mysterious stones brightens with the passage of time. And then the old Radiant Life Gem, a rare stone with so brilliant a shine, would fetch a handsome price, but what value could it really have without knowing who died to leave it behind? That's some deep stuff, really, if you think about it. That's that, and then we have a chest here, which contains 5 human effigies. Maybe they expected you to die a decent amount of times here. Oka Guts. just using a longsword. There is a boss beyond this door. I'm not going to fight him quite yet. I kind of want to finish clearing out this area entirely before I fight the boss up here. And I would highly recommend, in Scholar of the First Sin especially, I would highly recommend killing the boss in this cathedral up here before... What? Is that... No, that's just an illusion. Just my mind playing tricks on me, I think. Hang on. I want to look at something here. Yeah, I think it's just the way that the window looks. It almost looks like as if there's a Silver Knight standing in that window looking down on us. But it's just my imagination. It's my hopes and dreams wishing that that the badass Silver Knights were in Dark Souls 2. Yeah, we'll go ahead and round out this area completely before we fight any of the bosses. But the main reason why I highly recommend fighting the boss in the cathedral up there first, there are 2 bosses in the zone, first of all. But the Dragon Rider Knight, which is the boss in this over here, where we raise that circular platform, in there is the Dragon Rider Knight boss. And if you kill him, when you kill him, all of these Heide Knights, which are currently totally non-hostile, become hostile. They get up and they actually patrol the area, and you could end up in a bad situation, especially if you're a newer player. One thing that I do highly recommend before fighting that boss is, 1, killing the old Dragon Slayer in the cathedral, and 2, practicing fighting the Heide Knights individually before you end up having to fight them in a small horde, potentially. We're gonna go ahead... Oh, shoot, I unequipped the Dragon Parma, right. Get out of the way. I think now we're overburdened, but it shouldn't matter too much here. Easy kill, easy game, easy life. We'll unequip the binoculars. That's why we're overburdened. Binoculars. Honestly, the Watch Dragon Parma is a pretty good shield for what it is. It gives you the additional item find, and it's 90% physical block with 50 to stability, which is pretty good for a medium shield. I think my first playthrough of Scholar of the First Sin, I used this shield for the majority of it. Whoa! Really going at it there, guy. Oops. I thought I would be able to get my next attack off in time. I hesitated for a second. And it almost cost me bigly. Old Knight Helm. Over here we have a summon that, if you're having trouble with this area in general, you can use this summon, Masterless Glencore. He's kind of a badass. Honestly. He's a pretty swaggy NPC. Runs around using the Zweihander. We can go ahead and aggro this gentleman here. Once again, bow and arrows. Incredibly, incredibly useful. I would consider the bow and arrow an essential tool for Dark Souls 2. I know it may not feel like we've used it a whole lot so far, but we will. We'll get a lot of use out of it as the game goes on. Ring of Binding. Another pretty decent item. An unusual ring of unknown origin limits the wearer's HP reduction when hollow. Alas, this ring will not make you human. What is lost is not easily retrieved. So that helps combat the hollowing mechanic a little bit. Every time you die, you lose a sliver of your maximum health total. And what the hollowing ring, right? That's what it's called. Ring of Binding. What the Ring of Binding does is normally without it, the lowest your health can drop. You will hollow out eventually to 50% of your maximum health. The Ring of Binding makes it so that you will only hollow out to a maximum of 75%. Alright. I'm gonna go ahead and unequip this again. And, I think, yeah, we're at 3 Estus. We should be fine. We should have the resources to deal with the old Dragon Slayer coming up here. I may just want to pop a repair powder. Just to be safe, man. I don't need my weapons breaking in the middle of a boss fight. That happens, you're gonna have a bad time. I might also attempt to be summoned in this section because there's an NPC that won't talk to us until we have a token of fidelity, which we get by being summoned to another player's world and helping them kill a boss. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead. I want to unequip those. I'm gonna put my white sign soapstone down and see if we can't get summoned. Normally I'll do this by the bonfire, which means I wasted a repair powder incidentally, but normally I would do this by the bonfire back over here, the first bonfire in the area, and I would just farm the Heide Knights while I'm waiting to get summoned, because there's always the chance it takes a little bit to actually find someone to summon you. We'll go ahead, give this a few minutes. If we can't get a summon in like 5, maybe 10 minutes, we'll go ahead, just kill the boss and worry about getting the token of fidelity later, because I believe that you can find them. I believe they can be dropped in-game, so... Keeping the white sign soapstone equipped, just a little fun fact, is also a really good method to knowing if you're getting invaded or not as well. When you're being invaded, you can't drop your white sign soapstone. So having it active on your bar, if you're walking along and then suddenly your white sign soapstone is unusable, it's usually a telltale sign that you're getting invaded by somebody. Like I said, we'll give this a couple of minutes. We'll see how it goes. If we don't get summoned in like 5 minutes, maybe 10. We'll just skip it for now. I want to check something in the meanwhile. This is the advantage of having a dual monitor system. I can have that going and still be able to check stuff. In the meanwhile, while we're waiting for a summon, let's say. Give it a few more minutes. I don't think I'll worry about it. I'm just gonna go ahead and fight the boss. Just because it is getting pretty close to the 2-hour mark. Too slow. I'm gonna be playing around with this character. Trying to get some parry swag off on this guy. And tried to not get totally and utterly wrecked. Oh man, he almost got me right there. The parries on this guy though are like a little pointless in the sense that, oh man, that second shockwave really got me. Uh-oh. That was almost disasterific. What are you doing, buddy? Ow, I feel like that came out really fast. Whoa. Alright, use my last Estus here. What? Okay. I feel like that was really fast. That was nuts. Alright. There's not really a point to parrying him. You can't riposte him. So I kind of was just being an idiot there. It's a lot more useful when you have summons. You can parry them, and the summons can get in some extra damage. But it's kind of redundant. A little bit. In the sense that if you have summons, the boss fight is pretty easy anyway, so. Oh! The Heide Knight Sword. Oh, baby. This is one of my favorite weapons in the entire game. I would not be opposed to ending up using this. Straight sword originating in Heide, a special alloy makes it very durable. The composition of the alloy of these swords remains a mystery, but in Drangleic, the attempt to imitate it resulted in the similar Braden steel. We don't have the strength to use it. I think we can two-hand it though. Play around with it for a second. I just love this sword so much. I don't know what it is about the sword. Obviously it's unupgraded. We don't have the proper strength. We aren't going to be doing a whole lot of damage with it. But there's something about this sword in particular. It's the moveset. It's this kind of weird slicing moveset. But I think it is also a negative because of the fact that every time you hit something in Dark Souls 2, it eats away at your durability. So you do lose extra durability, I believe, using this weapon because of the fact that every attack you're smacking the ground. So, a little pros and cons. But it is such a cool weapon. I think it's because it has a lightning infusion. Like, the natural lightning damage on it makes it pretty good. It's definitely one of my favorite weapons, I will say, in the game. This guy, he'll totally ignore you if you don't go over to that switch. So, he's not going to walk up behind us or anything. He doesn't care. Slam. Poke, poke, poke. Swing. Poke, poke. Whoa! Feeling kind of aggressive there, are you? 1, 2, 3. Poke, poke, poke. Oh, don't want to make the same mistake twice. The good thing is that the dragon obviously doesn't come back. We can get some really good damage in before he even gets to us. Now this parry should kill him, or almost kill him. Yeah, he's left with a sliver of health. Bye, friend. That'll allow us to take on this guy much easier. One, 2, 3. I think I've picked up a couple of pale stones now and haven't looked at them, huh? What are they classified as? I think they're classified as upgrade material, technically. Oh, I never looked at the Dark Knight Stone either, huh? An altered state of Titanite used to imbue weapons with dark or to provide dark reduction to shield. Sorcerers at the Melfian Magic Academy once attempted to imbue Titanite with various elements but are said to have failed. Someone must have succeeded, though. What else would explain this stone? Interesting. So it's not a stone with natural dark properties. It's a piece of Titanite imbued with dark properties. It's pretty neat. And then we have the Pale Stone, an altered state of Titanite used on a weapon or shield to undo all imbued powers. This does not revert reinforcement, but does imbue powers such as magic, fire, poison, etc. We might get use out of that eventually. We'll see. We want to fight this guy on even ground. Wow, that did a lot of damage. Can we heal? Shit. Ooh, that was... Alright. No! Oh, those souls are gone, man. Ugh. Oh well. Should have spent them while I had them. Doesn't really matter. Souls are a renewable resource. And, very rarely do I care about losing my souls. Very rarely do I care about losing my souls. And the reason for that is because, like, when you become really paranoid that you're going to lose your souls, that's when you play your worst. Because the stakes become a lot higher. When in reality, souls are a renewable resource. You can get as many as you need. So worrying about losing your souls, I don't know, it just never really made sense to me. Because I'm a big believer that leveling up and buying items and everything like that makes the game easier, of course. Numerically, it makes the game a lot easier. But leveling up as a player, you know, playing well is 100 times more important than getting a couple of level ups. So plus, we have to remember that we have the Silver Serpent Ring +2, so if we're really worried about souls, we have a tool for farming. But I'm not really concerned with it, if I'm being totally honest with you. We'll get thousands upon thousands of souls, so to lose some here isn't really that big of a deal to me. I mean, if you think about it, we lost something like 10,000 souls. We're already back at 7,000. So it's like, what did we really lose, you know? That's the way I look at it. Some people see it differently. But, I wouldn't recommend getting too bent out of shape over losing some souls. We're gonna go ahead and fight this guy a little bit safer. We're gonna just go ahead and go for the backstabs. God. He does so much damage. That's what we want to see, friend. Oh, missed the backstab. Why is this guy giving me so much trouble suddenly? I don't know. Kind of obnoxious. Kind of obnoxious. I guess maybe because it's like I said, my reflexes are dulled, my senses are dulled. I'm not playing as well as I normally would because of that fact. I'm gonna go ahead and switch to the Watch Dragon Parma for now, I think. Whoa, not what I meant to do there. I want the Watch Dragon Parma over here. That's correct. That's the right way of doing things. These guys are nice and easy to parry, so... We mostly just want that that little extra physical block. Oh, I totally forgot about you. This is what I'm saying, man. My mind is just not right tonight. And I definitely feel it. I don't think I'm going to be streaming for much longer than 2 hours tonight. I mostly at this point just want to go ahead and kill this kill the old Dragon Slayer boss. I feel myself definitely burning out. I'm not on point like I was yesterday. Yesterday we were on point. Get the kill here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Old Night Gauntlets. Starting to run a little low on arrows, though. Uncomfortably low. I like having just bucket loads of arrows. 140 is still plenty, but at the same time, it's kind of like not enough. Not enough. Alright. Let's pick up our souls again. See, we're already back at 11,000. So it's like we didn't even lose any souls. This is exactly what I mean when I say souls are a renewable resource and you really shouldn't worry about them too much. Alright. Alright. You've been giving me some trouble, sir. But I got your number this time. I've seen how you operate. I understand you and your... No, still didn't get the backstab there. There we go. The spear guys are like particularly hard to parry, I think. They're just like their attacks come out so, oh shit, I thought I killed him. Their attacks just are so much faster than the sword versions. I really thought I killed him there. That was potentially a terrible oversight. Potentially a disaster, man. I should have used a human effigy there, actually. Go ahead and use one now. But I need to waste another life gem to top myself off. I didn't really need to do that if I used a human effigy previously. Alright. We're gonna go with the ye old tank and spank here. We're not gonna really mess around too much with this guy. Wow, that I did not expect you to do that. Get some of my stamina back here. My stamina is recovering a little bit slowly compared to normal because I am wearing heavier armor. And on top of that, our roll isn't as fast as it could be, nor as long as it could be. So that's probably doing us in a little too. But we got this in the bag now. Rely on the old tank and spank method of Dark Souls 1. It's tried and true. Victory achieved right there. Old Dragon Slayer soul and the old Leo ring. And again, I know I said I was going to talk a little bit more about boss strategy, and I did not. I'm sorry. I'm going to try to do that a little bit better next time. Let's have a look at that. The Old Dragon Slayer soul. Soul of the Old Dragon Slayer. The Old Dragon Slayer is reminiscent of a certain knight that appears in old legends. Use the special soul of the Old Dragon Slayer to acquire numerous souls or create something of great worth. For those who are familiar, this is a point of contention in the Dark Souls 2 lore. Is the Old Dragon Slayer supposed to be Ornstein, you know? Because that is the knight he is reminiscent of. I'm in the camp that no, this is not Ornstein. Partly because of what we see in Dark Souls 3 at this point. But mostly because of this description right here. The Old Dragon Slayer is reminiscent of a certain knight that appears in old legends. It suggests more to me that the armor is inspired by and is based off of Ornstein's armor, but it's not actually Ornstein. Here we have Targray the Blue, who will not talk to us because we don't have a token of fidelity.
Transient being. This is no place for one such as you. Be gone. You are not needed.
Huh. No, that... Okay. I wanted to watch his animation there for a second, because while he was talking, as he said, "Be gone, you are not needed," he did kind of... His head turned away. And I thought it would be neat if that was like a little thing where when he tells you you're not needed, he like looks away from you, like turns away from you, but it's just part of his animation. He's overlooking the sea here. He's not looking at anything particular. More of the sunken ruins. Let's not forget about these two chests right here. The cracked blue eye orb. And Cleric's Parma Tower Shield. Let's take a look at the cracked blue eye orb. We've gotten quite a few of them. I haven't looked at any of them yet. Online play item, invade the world of the guilty. Can only be used by members of the Blue Sentinels Covenant. Punish the guilty to strengthen the bond with your covenant. So this is basically a covenant mechanic. The Blue Sentinels punish the guilty. If you have invaded other players, if you've killed NPCs, stuff like that are considered in Dark Souls, in the Dark Souls world, to be sins. The Blue Sentinels, part of their function is to judge the guilty, punish the guilty. So when you use a cracked blue eye orb, you actually invade the world of the guilty. You do it as an arbiter spirit, and basically you invade a guilty world. You can, if you kill the host, it's considered to be punishment. That's how you improve your relationship with this covenant. And then we have the Cleric's Parma to look at. That is here. A Parma used by clerics on pilgrimage, enchanted with some fragile blessing that allows spells to be deflected by parrying. Fortunately, the shield provides very little in physical defense, as is more of a lucky charm than a proper shield. Well, you say that, but if we look at it, it does have some pretty decent... let's get over to where I want. It has really decent magic, fire, lightning, and even dark reduction. So if you're fighting an enemy, fighting a particular boss maybe, that uses one of these damage types, you can use a shield like this to help mitigate a lot of that damage. But it only has a 50% physical reduction. And then the tower shield is a strength shield that has a very special place in my heart. If you want to go with a strength build, use the tower shield. Its stability is 70. Its physical is 100% block. It's a fantastic shield. It just is very heavy. A metal great shield, very heavy and requiring great strength to handle, but provides excellent defense. One requires strength to handle a great shield, but they are very, very stable in battle, and one fights using shield bash instead of parrying. Really, especially for newer players looking for a more consistent shield, definitely would highly recommend that. We're gonna head back to Majula. We got souls to burn for days, man. We almost have 40,000 souls here. We should definitely spend some of these while we have the opportunity to. And we picked up a couple of soul items that we can use. I think what we're going to do here is We're gonna make sure our intellect is at 10. And then we still have, like, what is that? 8 levels? We can bring my adaptability up to 20. I would like to bring my strength up a little bit. It doesn't really have that much of an impact. I can bring it up to 11 so I can use the Heide Knight sword as my offhand. Still have 3 points here. I guess I actually have 11 points to spend. I don't know how I got 8. So I think we'll go ahead and bring adaptability up to 22. 22 is the soft cap for adaptability. Agility. Agility. Boost ease of evasion and other actions, which includes how quickly you use items. Agility caps at like 100, 103, something like that. I think 98 agility is perfectly fine. So we're good with adaptability, and then we'll put an additional point. I think we'll go ahead and slap this into vitality for now. Or you know what? We'll push our faith up by a point. Yeah, that's fine. So now we have we can use items a little bit faster, and our rolls have more iframes. And then we have 13 life gems. We'll go ahead and buy more life gems. A few more life gems in the pocket. I think that's gonna pretty much wrap up tonight's stream. Like I said, I don't know what it is. I'm just feeling really beat up. I'm feeling really exhausted. I don't know if I'm gonna stream tomorrow or not yet. As of right now, I'm gonna say I'm probably not gonna be streaming tomorrow. And we're starting to get some drop frames too, it looks like, so probably a good idea to start stopping now. Whoa, we have 238 drops frames. Why? That's nuts. It seems it was a lot worse than I thought it was. That's unfortunate. I haven't really been paying attention, but yeah, I'm probably not going to stream tomorrow. I'm probably going to take a day to recover, because tomorrow's like my first day off in like a week. So I'm probably just going to use tomorrow to recover. Not stream. Get some extra sleep in. Then we'll probably be back at it Sunday night. Thank you for watching, everyone. I will see you probably Sunday night for more Dark Souls 2 lore play. Have a good night.